and welcome to VI Voices. I'm Emil Henderson III, along with Clint Ferris, Gordon McFarlane, and Yoki Hanley. Tonight we continue our election coverage our election coverage show, as we have with us the Mapp Potter team, which is one of the gubernatorial teams running for the 2014 general election. We had with us before Mr. Mapp, who was on the show by himself. And we had a nice conversation with him at that time. And of course, we decided that we're going to have all of the individuals who are seeking that gubernatorial office and lieutenant gubernatorial office back on the show with their running mates. And so tonight, we have Mr. Mapp and his running mate, Mr. Osbert Potter. And so we'll be talking with him. But as we will have them in the next segment, but we'll begin tonight's show. We do every show with our hot topics. And our first hot topic is
the moral turpitude case. Yes. It needs to be discussed. It really does need to be discussed. We had the Supreme Court hearing today, which was to appeal the decision that was made by Judge Brady. How long ago was that?
last month.
Last month, in which he claims that there was no definition of moral turpitude, and how this will not only affect a current sitting senator who is seeking re-election, but also for anybody in the future who plans to run for Senate. We have this nasty case of history and precedents being set, so we need to just nip this in the bud one time and say, this is how it is and be done with it. Yes, I don't want to be putting people on the spot, but there are a lot of people that are very proud of what you did, so you do need to be recognized. We're very appreciative of you taking the gauntlet, and I will be honest, it would be nice if we had more leaders that have your backbone and your moral conviction and your strength of character, as we've seen with former Senator Bryan, to move forward on issues like this that may be polarizing to the community or even to a certain section, but needs to be addressed so that as a whole we can heal and move forward as one to become a better community.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I do agree. I think that one of the reasons why I agreed to take on the case was because it needs to come to an end. We can't keep doing this every 2 years. And it was not sufficient for Judge Brady to just simply say, well, I don't see a definition, so that means it's not. That's bad law. And so we can't have that kind of law staying on our books. And so the Supreme Court has to be the one to just end it. And whatever the result may be, I don't know what the result is. They're the only three that would know. Whatever the result is, we will know the answer. If they say it's not a moral turpitude crime, she can continue to run, then we know she can run. And we know she can be in the Senate, and it's over. If they say she cannot, then we know that she doesn't belong there. And then we proceed and go forward from that point on. But it was important, and what I wanted to make sure, and I tried to stress as much as I could, was that this is not about Senator Bryan, and stop putting him in the front as the person, I don't like him, so then I don't want him to do it. It's not about him. He did what I think every single member of the Board of Elections should have done. It said, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know what it is. Let me go to the court and find out. That's what they should have done. But all of them sat there and left him by himself to do it by himself, and sat back and did nothing.
But
that's why I agree with that.
Election is coming up now too, and I too want to echo the sentiments of Yoki. I was there personally, and I just want to say that you did an outstanding job, and your argument was on point. And how the attorney got up and stated her position, it was a joke. It was nothing in comparison to how you presented yourself, and I felt good just knowing you and being a part of this group. And it made me, if it put something in me, man, I said, well, I know that brother, man, that's in me, man, so that was a good thing, and you did an outstanding job again. And I just want to say thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Having the fortitude to do so.
And George, I did hear that you did put on a boss of a performance. Because, somebody came back to my office and said, boy, that boy did
Henderson, eh?
Hey, he's going to hear the glory review the judge got. But my question is this the third time that Senator Hansen is on the ballot since 2010?
Yes. And
my thing is this. It's all about timing. In 2012, where was this case? And in every 4 year cycle, we have a major distraction that distracts the people from the real cause. And then it affects other races within the cycle. And that's, to me, that's the discerning part. Where was this issue 2 years ago in 2012? Let's deal with it then and not make it part of a gubernatorial cycle. And it get caught up, and again it polarized, and we lose sight of what the real cause is. And the real cause is getting good leadership in government house. And
Well,
good leadership in the legislature.
You know why this happens? This happens because we have people that convince voters that I fight for you, and I fight for you, and so you have to have me to be in a sense to continue to fight for you. And you know, one of the things, like I said, one of the other reasons I took this case is because the people of the Virgin Islands has to be a point where they understand how things affect them, and it's not so much of the rah-rah loud, okay, that person screaming for me and that person helped me to fix my light bill, and that's not what it's about. What they have to understand is when people who are supposed to pay their taxes don't pay their taxes, the government doesn't make money. And when the government doesn't make money, the government doesn't give the service that they need. So when you talk about you're upset because WAPA was turned off your light, well, you know what? The government doesn't have any money to give them to help them to buy stuff. When you talk about the fact that you're saying children to school and they don't have any books and they don't have this, and why Central High is the way it is, you know why? Because the government doesn't have any money to fix those things.
But
I know what
why doesn't the
happens
government have
because
money?
people don't pay their taxes.
But then
and that's the problem.
How
you're being
does
hypocritical.
how does the government plead a case with no contest for a former senator who did this repeatedly for over 10 plus years? What precedents are they setting? So they should have never pleaded with her in the first case. Let it go through. Let me get a verdict.
No, it was a verdict.
But okay,
It
no
went to a
contest.
trial. No. It went to a trial, to a jury, and a jury convicted her.
But then
Convicted her.
The statute of limitations ran.
But what
for a lot of
happened
what she
is
did.
that you had 19 years where she was not filing
Taxes.
tax returns. Okay? There's a 6-year limitation period on bringing those criminal charges. What happened is by the time they charged her, a bunch of those crimes couldn't be charged.
Correct.
The limitation period had run out. Okay? So you have about 13 years where she really didn't pay anything. So the amount of charges where they were able to charge her, the jury convicted her.
Correct.
And so it wasn't that she pled or they offered her anything less. None of that stuff happened. The jury convicted her beyond a reasonable doubt that found that she was willfully failing to file her taxes.
Then why didn't she end up in jail?
No, they sentenced her to 1 year incarceration for each count, but suspended it to allow her to make her payments. If she didn't complete her probation and didn't complete the conditions, then she would have been sent to jail. People confuse a suspended sentence with probation. Probation is probation. A suspended sentence is you have been sentenced to jail.
Okay.
But what we will do is suspend you going to the jail as long as you complete all of these things, which means if she didn't, she would have turned around and they would have sent her
Then
straight
what's
to
the issue?
go to jail.
Then my thing about what is the issue? Why isn't she out the legislature?
Because people won't let her out.
Not that they
People
don't have
are
one,
afraid
they do
because
have
they
one.
think if they go after her, then her little people who are support her won't vote for them.
But then-
that's what it is.
and they see
And
that-
so they pretend like it doesn't happen. It's okay. But what happens is you and me who don't pay our taxes, they're coming for us.
And that's understandable. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. This is a third election cycle that we continue to
Well, you
face
can
this
thank
issue.
the Board of Elections. You can thank Mr. Abramson, who was there before, and all the
allowing
years
it
where
to
nothing
happen.
happened. That's who you can thank for
Yes.
that.
'Cause in 2010 this came up. In 2012 now she got in, and this
In
correct.
2010, she was serving her
Correct.
sentence.
Correct.
And I don't even understand how
On probation.
you can do that because the statute specifically says if you are serving a sentence on probation, you are not an elector.
probation.
And if you're not an elector, meaning you can't vote, then you cannot sit in the legislature. What did John Abramson do? Certify her. What did the legislature do? Keep her there. What did they do in 2011? There is a provision that says after you complete your sentence, your probation, you have to wait a year before you can get your franchise to vote and your election to go back and vote. What did they do in 2011? Remove that section so that when the 2012 is finished, she'll be able to go and submit her forms. This is all orchestrated. And until we did, that's what I'm telling people, they better start looking at the Board of Elections because those people who sat there, Raymond Williams, Rupert Ross, Lisa Moorhead, all of them sat there. And unless you want this kind of confusion to continue, then they
Go
need to
ahead.
be out.
Exactly.
I don't usually tell people who to vote for. I usually want people to come out. But this experience has shown me that if you want an honest, transparent election, they can't be there.
Simple.
It's as simple as that. But in any event, it is what it is. So we'll be back with Mr. Mapp and Mr. Potter. Back in a moment.
Hey, how we gonna do this?
Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us tonight Mr. Kenneth Mapp and Mr. Arthur Potter of the Mapp Potter team, and they are seeking to be our governor and lieutenant governor in the 2014 general election. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to VI Voices.
Thank you for inviting us.
Mr. Mapp, this is not your first time. You've been here before, but we promised that we would have you come back with your running mate. So, Mr. Potter, this is your first time on VI Voices. So, welcome again to VI Voices.
Thank you for having us here.
Yes, it's a pleasure. And so we want to, get right into it. Now that your team is complete and you're ready to put forward, what can we expect from the Mapp Potter team going forward?
Well,
if you were to be elected governor to the governor.
Well, first let me say good evening to all of the viewers and the audience of VI Voices, and it's a pleasure to be back for round two. you can expect. I'm always happy to be here.
Yeah.
From a Mapp Potter team, you can expect good, strong, energetic leadership. Without pointing fingers, our government has really failed to deliver just basic public service to our community. And there are a number of reasons for that. One of them is a lack of strong leadership and accountability. And what Oswald Potter and I want to bring to the table, or are bringing to the table, is an ability to sit down and to put a team of people together that are able to open and listen to the views and the concerns of the community, to be able to accept recommendations and suggestions as it affect the challenges that are affecting the people of the territory, to make decisions and to hold government managers and leaders accountable for getting the basic services delivered to the people of the Virgin Islands.
And that's important for everybody to really understand, because you cannot just believe that you as governor, lieutenant governor, can do it all. Okay, there's no magic potion that makes Kenneth Mapp and I, automatically know it all from day one. We have to be able to identify those individuals that are going to be able to augment this team and understand our goals and are able to really work with us and being our advisor, so to speak, And I think what you don't want to have happen and what we don't want to have happen, we don't want to be micromanaging our department heads. We expect our department heads to be knowledgeable, to be able to run their department, understand what their department needs are, understand the shortfalls, understand where they're heading in conjunction with our goals that we set collectively. And they, within themselves, got to be leaders. So they must be able to lead a department on their own, advise us, okay, as to where that department ought to be going, how it's going to get there. And I think that's what we are lacking most of the time. We have individuals who only wait until they get specific directives from the governor in order to proceed. But if you are running a department, you need to really understand and dig in deep to your department to make that department shine and to make that department productive.
Do you have a specific criteria you're looking for in terms of selecting these leaders, the leaders of the departments that you're referencing?
We want to make sure first people have knowledge of their discipline, some level of experience in budgets and managing employees, an ability to work with unions, an understanding of the task of the agency and what they ought to be delivering to the community, the ability to recognize resources outside on the federal, local level, the ability to reach into the University of the Virgin Islands and get assistance with training, so that it is fundamentally a commissioner's role, an agency head's role, is really not one of learning, You will learn it in the job, but it is one of leadership.
Right.
And it is no different on the gubernatorial and the lieutenant governor's role. The most unfortunate thing that the Virgin Islands, the people of the Virgin Islands can do is to put folks in government house who have no executive experience, no experience in drafting budgets, no experience in administering labor agreements, no understanding of the role of the private sector in recognizing that public partnerships are not about a person having an idea and then we just take taxpayers' money out of the treasury and then we have a public-private partnership, but an ability to sit and to listen and to recognize that the government has a responsibility of service, of infrastructure, of education, of security, of crime reduction, and that the government is going to look towards its responsibility as its priority and attract investment dollars and
the
growth.
responsibility of service, in terms of responsibility of service, the leader or whoever you choose to run these departments, or the commissioners that you choose, don't you have to recognize that the people, recognize who the people are that you're serving, and recognize that they are a part of the people?
Well, I think fundamentally many commissioners do recognize that. I think that the hamstrung, as what is pointing out, is that we're not empowering sometimes agency heads, and we're not allowing them to use their skill and capacity to manage departments and agencies. I have heard commissioners say, I can't say I know this to be a fact, but I've heard commissioners say to let someone drive a car 24 hours, they had to get permission from upstairs. So if you're running a 10, 50, 80, 90 million dollar government agency, you have 50, 75, 100, 200, 1,000 employees, it comes with, you have to have some level of capacity, and the governor and lieutenant governor have to repose some level of trust and faith in selecting you to be able to make decisions so that we can look at a picture in terms of across the playing field and not really get down in and start counting the nails and the staples.
Right,
because then the community will suffer.
Mr. Mapp, Mr. Potter, at time your discussion thus far has been about leadership,
Yes.
but your initial statement was about inclusion. And I need to get this out right now. There's a popular sentiment throughout the community that the Mapp Potter campaign is an exclusive group,
Okay.
and that the supporters of Mapp Potter are black, militant Virgin Islanders. And who only course of action only course of action is to promote socialism and a state and a welfare state. That's what some of the people are saying.
Well, this is the first time I've heard that.
Correct.
I have to be candid with you.
Is that an accurate description of your campaign and its supporters?
It's a very inaccurate description of our
Very,
campaign
very
and a very inaccurate description of our supporters. I'm being very candid with you, this is the first time I have heard that. We have supporters that run the gamut of the territory. We have, this is my third race, and I can tell you without any doubt that we have folks from the business community of all races and from all areas that are big, excited, energetic supporters of our team. We are promoting the growth of the Virgin Islands economy. We are talking about stopping the slide and the dismal failure of our economic system that has practically erased the middle class from the Virgin Islands, causing them to leave and seek opportunities elsewhere for their children and their families.
I think and not to cut you off like that, but I think what's going on here, people need stuff to distract the voters from their focus, okay? And that happens a lot, and it happens in all kinds of ways. And sometimes you have to just recognize what it is. It's distractions. You may just on your own want to pass across the Mapp Potter headquarters, just casually when maybe a general meeting is called, and just see for yourself what makes up, our supporters, and see who are there talking to the people, see who is mingling and informing and supporting. That way, anyone bringing something like that to you, you could dismiss it directly on your own once and for all if you immediately, if you are able to pass around and see who is supporting. And I have said this for other things also. people do whatever they can do to distract from Kenneth Mapp in particular, because it is clear from my observation, and I think from many individuals' observation, that Kenneth Mapp is by far the most prepared individual now to run the territory in the state that it's in now. So to get around that, people have to use whatever methods they want to use to distract the voters, to distract the man on the street, and try to get around, what they cannot get around by trying to deal with the subjects and the topic and just the meat of what this campaign should be about.
And you're talking about the meat of the issues, and I'm seeing billboard signs out there, and you guys have hope, you guys have opportunity. I'm seeing signs that focus on small business and all of that. Now, extrapolate, tell us about hope. What hope do you hope to bring to the Virgin Islands? And how about bringing this hope?
Well, hope is about being in a state of unsettledness, being in a unchallenged and an uncomfortable position because of the conditions surrounding you. Folks in the Virgin Islands unemployed, folks in the Virgin Islands underemployed, educated and trained, but have to take jobs that are not suited with the position and the training and the education that they have just to survive. Children and adults leave the Virgin Islands for training and have no opportunity to come back because there is no work to provide for them. People in the Virgin Islands living without electricity in their homes. These are dismal, challenging conditions to be in. What the message we're trying to convey, that there is life that's better across the river. There is hope and opportunity. We are going to be saved in the Virgin Islands by our ability to get ourselves in a way to work, recognize our challenges, confront the problems, be responsible for some of the decisions that we have made in the past that have not worked for us, and to change what we're doing and to manage our affairs in a different way. When folks talk about economics, our experience is in economics. I have been a regulator of the insurance industry. I have had no insurance or banking failures on my watch. I have had a major hurricane with all of the legitimate claims paid. Osbert Potter was the commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, managing consumer protection issues, weights and measures issues, licensing and codifying and authorizing people to do business in the territory and regulating that. I served in the Public Finance Authority under Governor Turnbull and worked 5 years on the financial markets, raising hundreds of millions of dollars for the people of the Virgin Islands. And I'll give you one example. Remember, there was a time in the Virgin Islands that sewage was flowing everywhere? Mm-hmm. Well, under the leadership of Governor Turnbull, we didn't get federal funds to solve that problem. We worked with the United States Department of Justice and the EPA and Crucian Rum and created a formula where we would get Crucian to be able to produce more rum, sell more rum by its discharge, and take those revenues and dedicate it to servicing a bond that allowed the government and the people of the Virgin Islands to completely rebuild all of their sewage treatment plants in the territory, restart replacing and repairing all of the lines that run through the territory, and all of the pumps that send the clean water into the ocean. You don't have the problem of picking up the paper every weekend now and saying, don't go to this beach because there's raw sewage there. Or driving around Cuesta Verde and the manhole cover is gone and the sewage is flowing all over this territory. We did that in terms of our ability to understand the dynamics and to go out of the territory and to work with folks that are important to make these things happen. The Inahai Pond port on the island of St. John, the freight facility, did not cost the people of the Virgin Islands a single dime. It is under the Public Finance Authority, where I was the director under Governor Turnbull, that we took a piece of highway revenue, went to the Department of Transportation and got permission to float a bond that lasted 7 years to build that facility. The monies that built the cancer care and the cardiac center in the Virgin Islands was built by taking our share of the tobacco settlement agreement and leveraging those monies in a transaction that allowed the construction of these facilities in a very successful way. So when Osbert and I speak about dealing with the problems and building the economy and creating jobs, you're talking about individuals who have been involved in doing that and understanding how that works and being able to create a team to work with folks in the community and to get the dynamics in a way that are important that we can move forward in a better quality and condition of life.
And in the process, you have to be creative. You cannot get in there and just sit down and go full force ahead in the same track and the same direction that you met things and expect anything to change and be different. You must be creative. You must bring creative juices to the table. You cannot be someone who just decide, okay, I'm elected now. Oh, that's all I needed. That's all I wanted. You know, everything is done. That's when your work just begins. Your work begins the minute you get elected.
Let me, if I can jump in here in terms of the work being started. Mr. Potter, this is directed to you specifically. When if you become
we'll take the win.
You take the win, right? Okay. Lieutenant Governor, you'll be the Commissioner of Banking and Insurance for the territory. We have a very serious issue, and I can speak on, knowing full well that as for a lot of small businesses, we can't afford insurance, and you have a lot of individuals that still can't afford insurance, especially with the exclusion that we have with the ACA. And then on top of that, you have the banking, where I don't know how it is on St. Thomas, but on St. Croix, these banks don't like to lend to us, period. So
I know that for a fact.
Okay, so
I know that for a fact.
Going in, what would you do to change that, to make the lives of the small business people here and basically everybody easier in terms of being able to afford health insurance and also being able to go in and create a business and have a business be successful with the bank actually being a friend rather than a foe?
Well, beginning with the banks, I learned a few months ago that the local banks were not granting loans to small businesses. To my dismay, they were, as a matter of fact, blocking the small businesses from getting loans. From the standpoint being, there were banks out of the territory from the United States that granted loans, that were granting loans to these small businesses. The local banks were not in any way granting loans, but these same local banks, through the Commissioner of Banking and Insurance, blocked these banks from giving the very small businesses in this territory loans. What rationale behind that would make sense, I don't know, because there's no way in the world if a small business gets the ability to receive an influx of dollars through a loan that would allow them to, expand, hire another employee, get their inventory to a point where they need to be. Why would the local banks who are not competing for that loan and who are not, whose business is not being taken away because they are not granting the loans, period, would, I would say, collude with the office of, with the Commissioner of Banking and Insurance to stop that? It doesn't make sense to me. It's heartless. I will make sure that that is something that doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, I don't even understand why, if you as a local bank are not granting a loan to a small business, why is it a problem to you if someone from the outside grants that same loan that you're not granting? And as far as insurance is concerned, you have to, like I said, be creative. There are different approaches that you have to bring to the table. When you are in this position, it's incumbent on you to make sure that you bring everyone to the table and first understand what all their pains and sufferings are. You don't go into the office in day one and say, okay, I woke up this morning and now I'm Lieutenant Governor, I know all the answers to all the insurance situation and I'm going to do this. Because that will never work. You must sit with the people, the very people that are having and experiencing the difficulties, and collectively see what would make sense. Something have to make sense for us. You can't just force something on someone because you have the ability and the authority to do it. You must, if you in any way care for the same people that elect you and these same small businesses, you must bring them to the table, sit with them, and try to understand what is it that we now can do to ease your situation, to make you more viable in this community, to allow you to stay in business. Because if you stay in business, the whole government is uplifted. If you stay in business and you can employ 2 or 3 people, that's 2 or 3 people that don't have to go looking for food stamps or being on welfare. And this is the mentality that we must take once we are in office. When you are in office, you are in the position to advocate on behalf of the people that elect you. And this is the one thing that I keep saying. Unless the individuals that are in the office of the governor and lieutenant governor, unless they feel the pain of the people and truly understand that these are the people here that you live among, until and unless you go and make those initiatives and set the trend for what is supposed to happen, set the goals, then you're just going to go in and do the same old thing. And I am not about doing the same old thing. I am not about to just go and they want to sit in the lieutenant governor's office, maybe sit down and say, wow, I did it. Because I haven't done anything. Until the people of the Virgin Islands, the small businesses and everyone are able to get some serious relief, then we have not done anything. It doesn't matter how much we talk, it doesn't matter what. If you go into office and you fail to take the people's concern as your concern, rather than just directing and challenging money to certain specific groups that feel that they are the only ones that can get money out of this government. Until you sit down and do that, you haven't done anything. You can talk and talk and talk till thy kingdom come, but it's your responsibility as governor and lieutenant governor to set the tone and to make sure that the people of the Virgin Islands are the ones that become your priority, your number one priority every day that you wake up.
Good. We will take a quick break and we'll be back with Mapp and Potter. Back in a moment. And welcome back to VI Voices. We're here with the Mapp Potter team as we're getting some more information about them and who they are and what they intend to do if they are in fact elected governor and lieutenant governor of the Virgin Islands. But I wanted to ask you a quick question while you are here.
Quick?
Quick. Yeah, it may be more a statement / question. Over the last few weeks, we've been having a lot of ads going out there that highlights a lot of issues for other campaign groups, but primarily one. And we've had a lot of people discussing about it being negative campaign ads, all this other stuff, and I must be honest, I don't view them as negative. I think that the ads are challenging a record, and which is what you're supposed to do in an election. But there's also the other part of where it's good to have those ads, but then also tell me what you're going to do. So don't tell me alone, this person can't do this, they haven't done this, whatever. Also tell me what you can do. And I think you kind of did that in the last segment where you kind of let the people know these are the things that you did in these various areas. Do you believe that the ads, and quite frankly, I'm not even sure they're your ads, but what they've been talking about, these Democrats from Mapp, and you're not a Democrat, so I'm not sure how they've associated with you other than the fact your name is in it. Do you believe that it is appropriate for you? I think it is for you to challenge the record of anybody in office or seeking the office.
We are very pleased to have Democrats supporting us with Potter and I. We have Republicans, ICMers, and independent candidates. We cannot win if we do not have everyone at the table. And we have a number of Democrats supporting us. Mapp Potter campaign, we did pay for the ads that the Democrats from Mapp Potter produced, questioning 4 areas of Delegate Christensen's record as to why they did not support her in the primary. I would be hopeful. I served a number of years, 32 years, on the public stage, and I mean from the time I was a union president to my last role as the head of the PFA. And my record is completely open to public question and scrutiny. I am hoping we're not arriving at a place in the Virgin Islands that if you now elect people and put them in jobs, you can't even ask, what did you do during that period? The ads, I don't hear the ads saying that the delegate did nothing. And I would not subscribe or support, Osbert wouldn't support any ad that said Delegate Christensen didn't do anything in 18 years. But I think the point that that ad makes is that in the critical areas affecting the quality of lives of the people of the Virgin Islands, and given the delegates promotion of her relationships and the powerful committees that she served on, that somehow we in the Virgin Islands are not the beneficiaries of those connections. This past weekend, one of our supporters in St. Thomas was out to an event, and he's a public figure. He ran for office, Glenn Smith, and he was a labor leader. He asked the question, what has Ken Mapp ever done for the people of the Virgin Islands? And I thank Glenn Smith for that, because I thought it was a very legitimate question. And so I was able to go to that forum where those questions were asked and to say some of the things that I was able to do as a union president, what I was able to do to help the people of the Virgin Islands as a senator, as the head of consumer services, and all the way through. Didn't even have to talk about my work and role in the private sector. And I welcome such a question, because I think that's a wonderful discussion we ought to be having. And Osbert and I are making the distinction that we bring to the table the energy and the experience and the vision, and we show through our advertising since we've been running that we are hearing the plight of the people of the Virgin Islands and connecting it with the election by demonstrating on our billboards opportunity and hope and quality of life, and the need to focus on how we build and expand and grow the economy and create jobs and create opportunity for the people of the Virgin Islands.
Mr. Mapp, we have a neighboring island in St. Martin who is developing themselves in terms of the Panama opening, for when the Panama open. Do you have any plan in place to develop the Virgin Islands infrastructure in terms of trade?
Well, yes. Trade is in a number of resources, and I hear the conversation about the Panama Canal, and I believe that the Virgin Islands have great opportunity to participate in that. I believe also that the Virgin Islands have wider opportunity to participating in really creating a very robust and huge e-commerce industry in the territory. And I say that for 2 or 3 basic reasons. Number one, St. Croix has the largest broadband capacity on the North American continent except for New York, New Jersey. 2, the Virgin Islands can offer incentives on federal tax obligations. 3, e-commerce provides a work ethic that attracts the youngest of the Virgin Islands, which is a big motivator for folks to be in school, to avail themselves to training, to work in technology. I say to folks in the Virgin Islands as an example, because we have some of these industries already establishing in the Virgin Islands. Do people know that one of the headquarters, the Commerce Center for Cancer Treatment of America's facility and chain, is in the Virgin Islands? Do people recognize that we have now financial services being provided to banks and mortgage companies across America that have 70 and 80 Virgin Islanders working there, making on the north side of $45,000 health insurance benefits, 401k plans. So our ability, and when we talk about dealing with energy and the cost of electricity of the Virgin Islands, we want to be clear that it is directly connected to economic growth and development. And if we're able to really solve that issue, then the ability to open up the Virgin Islands to an e-commerce industry, in digital managing, in media, in financial services, become the new industry in the Virgin Islands. It doesn't have to replace tourism. We have issues in tourism that we have to invest in, to improve upon in terms of our product on St. Croix, in St. Thomas, and St. John, so that we can become competitive. Yes, the Panama Canal growth and development and expansion offers us an opportunity, but it doesn't offer us the kind of clean industry, the high-paying industry, the ability to resurge and grow the middle class and create economic opportunity for our local people like e-commerce does, because I think all of us will agree that we don't know in the world yet where technology is going to end up in our lives. We're still at the early stages, and the growth and the expansion in medicine and financial services and I mean just across the board is so huge that we need to prepare ourselves for that industry.
But before you can...
Let me just interject here, because I think sometimes people don't quite get the full connection as to how critical our power situation, our cost of energy is, as far as it crippling us, as far as being able to do the things that can build this economy up. WAPA is so directly connected to our ability to build this economy that no matter what you do, unless you can get the cost per kilowatt hour down to a reasonable amount, to a reasonable number, a lot of the things that you're doing, you're just going to be chasing your tail, because that energy bill that is forcing businesses, particularly small businesses, to either close their doors, literally send 2 or 3 of the employees home, does not lead to expansion. It does not lead to expansion. If we only get the energy cost down to maybe 30-something cents per kilowatt, that still is not enough. It will be an ease, maybe in a few of our pockets, and ease, but it would not be.
We understand that, but what's your plan in doing that?
Well, we talk about bringing everything to the table as far as, embracing what WAPA is doing now.
Can I interject?
Yeah, I'll let, because he is...
The key on bringing the cost of electricity down is really, as we learned it, and it is a conversation we have to have with the community, is one of clearly diversifying how we produce electricity, the elements on how we produce electricity. And it has to, what we have to really look at, and just permit me this analogy. Before cell phones, or on the eve of cell phones, Marbells and the ATTs with the landlines had them, and cell phones started to come into play and expand. And those companies had to reshift their focus and recognize that landlines were going to become a thing of the past. And if they didn't change and adapt, they weren't going to be in business. We're in America, not the Virgin Islands only, in America, that's what's happening to the energy industry. The cost of renewable energy platforms are coming down. So they're becoming more in the reach of consumers and homeowners and businesses, and people are going to gravitate or go to them. We have to develop in this community and adopt an energy plan with business, residents, and the government to understand where we're at today, where we need to be in 5 years, and where we're going to be in 10 years. Because the technology is just going to keep coming. And I know that there's a senator in the legislature in the Virgin Islands today that has a bill that wants to cap access to renewable energy on the net metering program and sunset the program because it's affecting the revenues of the Water and Power Authority. What we have to do is help the Water and Power Authority become more efficient and be able to evolve with the technology, and not say people have to stay on the grid, because they're just not going to be able to do that. But this problem of producing electricity with oil in the short term is a very expensive way to produce electricity. And I will tell you that what the Water and Power Authority is doing, trying to institute and is instituting the use of liquid propane gas, is going to reduce the cost of fuel, but about 25-30%. You're still going to have the cost of electricity being high. So we have to continue with further diversification of renewable energy sources. We have to think about some element of coal in the process, because coal still remains the largest single element that produces electricity in the United States of America, and it generates power that you can sell retail for under 10 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, we're not advocating that the Virgin Islands go totally on coal, but it is an element. We have coal-fired generators that have been in use here on St. Croix on the South Shore.
You talk about the environmental aspect of coal.
Well, the technology and the ability to scrub and pull down the carbon emissions is clear. We don't have air pollution and acid rain across the United States of America as we did in the 50s and the 60s, because the technology has been able to pull down the carbon emissions. The point I'm making is that I'm not suggesting, and we're not suggesting, that coal should be a 30-year process. But we can't build an economy at 52 cents. We can't build an economy at 38 cents. We cannot, Puerto Rico has demonstrated, you cannot build an economy at 26 cents. So we're going to have to, in the short term, if we went 100% renewable energy tomorrow, it will be all clean. But the cost of power in the Virgin Islands would have to go up before the cost would come down. How would that affect our ability to invigorate and generate and build an economy and grow jobs? It wouldn't happen. So we have to have that balance that permits us to create an environment where folks in the islands are willing to invest money and expand and grow businesses, and where people look at the Virgin Islands as a source to invest in. And, you know, one of the things that Osbert and I talk about, part of reducing the cost of living in the Virgin Islands is getting into the real process of growing food. And I don't just want to say an agriculture industry, because what Osbert and I are saying is that the Department of Agriculture really needs to become an advocate, not a service industry. And when I say an advocate, be able to create farmers cooperative, be able to go to the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Food and Drug Administration and get the proper certifications on how we grow, handle, and clean food, so that then once that certification is received, the farmers can start selling to the school lunch programs. They can start selling to Herbert Gray. The food stamp recipients can start buying them. And then you really create a system of growing that industry. It's not, you're not just going to plow land and tell farmers go farm and you're going to have agriculture. It has to be done, we believe it has to be done with a systematic process of beginning creating some captured customers, and what Mrs. Michelle Obama has been doing in terms of organic foods and gardening and really getting clean and non-processed food in the school lunch programs is a great way to begin the process of cooperating the farmers, determining the crops that need to be grown, what type of year and how the crops are harvested, and beginning to provide access to the school lunch program, the home for the elderly, the Head Start programs. And these are all programs that utilize federal money to buy these foods, and that's why we are capturing them.
So let me thank you.
Emily's
Yes, because
question.
all of that has a foundation of education.
Yes.
And one thing what I'm not hearing anybody talking about is what is their education mandate. So I'm hearing you talking about e-commerce, about agriculture and all of this. Are you going to come and energy? And we don't have an educated populace. We can't continue on the same status quo as we have been
You've
before.
just captured our slogan.
Let me tell you something
No,
about
but
education.
before you go, I want to know, are you coming in to say this is how I see as a Mapp partner team where we need to be in education with our children in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years,
No.
in the next 5 years?
The simple answer is no. We're talking about a wider vision, and we're talking about then involving the community. We cannot talk about it, reforms in education, if we're not honest and want to talk about parents and teachers and children. We have to sit down with unions, the union heads, to recognize that reforms in education does not mean that we have to reduce teacher and employee benefits and compensation packages. But we are interested in seeing a plan and a strategy that gets us to focus on the performance of students, get us to recognize that there's some benchmarks that if we don't achieve them, we're going to have continue to have tremendous difficulty. In our plan, and I'm going to ask Osbert to take this segment of it. Last night in our meetings in St. Thomas, Osbert talked specifically about recognizing to the public that was there how important it is to get the great majority of third graders to read on the third grade level. Because what the data and the evidence have suggested, that when children don't do that, what happens to them in junior high and high school, and when they become almost non-functional adults, non-productive adults, and where that goes. So our is not a plan to walk in and say, okay, here is the Mapp part of plan. We're not deviating from it. We don't want to hear nothing. No, it's a grander view. It's a grander view, and it set a series of benchmarks and objectives, but recognizing that we are in a democracy and we have to work with elements in the community to buy in and to participate and to contribute and to give ideas and suggestions how we can reach to that grander achievement in the territory.
And before you start, I want you to also address the fact that we are a community that, according to the United States, is made up of minorities. So education-wise, there are different benchmarks that should be met for children of color, in particular, our black children.
I have to jump in. I have to jump in. First of all, I'm not going to go to that point. But first of all, I'm going to just say this. We have a bigger question we have to start asking the Virgin Islands. Which America do we live in? Because I, as an American living in the Virgin Islands, I am beginning to ask the question, which America is this? It looks like we have more than one America. And it looks like if I get on a plane and I land in Florida, I have access to a different America. And when I'm in the Virgin Islands or any of the territories, I am supposed to somehow have less standing. I am supposed to have less access to benefits that I am paying for, but I must be as equally ready to stand and defend the nation and make the ultimate sacrifice without being able to have a real conversation. So I'm going to leave it, but at
That's
some
a status
point,
question that we need to
really,
address.
it's beyond a status question. This is not a status question. And I beg your pardon, this isn't a status question. We have no business having the federal government charge you and everyone sitting at this panel Social Security, taking it out your check, and charging your employer the exact same amount that everybody pays on the U.S. mainland and tell you you're not entitled to about 20% of your benefit. That's unbelievable. That's not a status issue. We are subsidizing the benefits of others and saying that if you want to have access to those benefits, just move. Many retirees in the Virgin Islands relocate to the mainland to access their Medicare benefits that they cannot utilize in the Virgin Islands. So that's not a status issue. That's an issue of citizen. What America is this? And I'm not. And it isn't about patriotism. I am as patriot and committed to the nation as the next person. But we have these realities that we have to deal with, and so we look forward to working with the new delegate to be able to create a strategy where we have to stop asking this question, which America I live in. I apologize for the interruption.
This is going to have to deal with sometime.
I'm sorry. yes. I apologize.
But to get...
So I got a few minutes before they start telling me.
Okay, to wrap up, I understand how that works. But one extremely important benchmark and one extremely important thing that as the leadership of the Mapp Party team, once we set ourselves in Government House on day one thing that we must understand is that our children, we must pour out all our resources to ensure that our young children are ready to learn, that they are able to achieve by the third grade level, the third grade standards that are there, because failing to have our children read adequately and efficiently by the third grade is more critical than you might imagine. The statistics show that if your child does not read properly by the third grade, the potential of that child being a dropout expedites. Okay, that child potentially now does not keep up when he gets to 4th, 5th, 6th grade. By 7th grade, that child is not competitive in the classroom, does not feel that he belongs in the classroom because of the failure to read and understand and comprehend at that age. I'm saying the money that we put into incarcerating this youngster when they get in contact with the law because they drop out, because they did not achieve those standards by the third grade, the money that we put, that we throw at them to incarcerate them and take care of them while they're in prison, that's the money that we need to deal with these youngsters up front. And whatever it takes, make sure that our children can read. Reading is the key. If your children cannot read, your child is in trouble. This territory, these islands, will continue to be in trouble if we do not put all our energies into making sure that at that tender age, by the time as they get to the third grade, they can read and comprehend. And there are many tools around.
Phonics.
But you know who else?
around.
You know who else needs to read and comprehend? Their parents.
Well,
because some of
if
their parents can't read and
and
comprehend.
that's
as
a
result
fact.
of
And
that.
that's a fact. And that
Because
is.
they weren't reading on the
And
third
they
grade level
weren't
and
also
third
No,
reading.
because they
But
took
listen to
phonics
me.
out of school. So
Listen
now
to
you
me.
are teaching children sight words. They can't read.
And
that's where the real problem
we need
is.
to understand why our children are not reading and make sure that we correct that and make sure that it doesn't happen continuously. As the leaders, you have to take charge. You have to take charge. You cannot have the reading level of our children continue on that critical part under your leadership. If you care about what's happening here, you have to make sure that our children read and don't just find money to throw in the prisons when they get in contact with the law. They have to learn to read.
We gotta come back. We'll take a quick break to close up. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Get Voices. We had a very spirited night tonight with the Mapp Potter team, and we got to learn a little bit more about the team, as now it is complete with Mr. Potter. As we know that you were not here the last time, and we just had Mr. Mapp, and most people know who he is, and I'm sure they know who you are, but we just don't know how you all work together. And so it was good to have you on the show tonight. I think we got a lot of information out from both of you. But let the audience know, again, where you can be found if they have more questions for you, to learn more about who you are and what you all are bringing to the table.
Sure. Well, you can find us at Mapp-Potter, mapp-potter.com, Facebook, Mapp Potter, St. Croix, 778-6277, St. Thomas, 715-6277, and St. John, 693-6277. You can come to our headquarters in St. Croix in Estate Peters Rest across from Carsules, next to Sprint. You can visit us at the Lockett Gardens Mall, across from Kmart, next to Kmart. You can visit us at the Lumber Yard in St. John. You can, Osbert and I are all over, our workers are all over. Folks are going to be seeing us in their communities as we visit the neighborhoods to hear from members of the community. But we want to leave the audience and the Virgin Islands community with this message. We disrespect no one in this race. We hold Delegate Christensen and our running mate and the other candidates in the race with high regard and high respect. But this is the most critical election in our time in the Virgin Islands. And what we are offering is experienced, tested leadership, decisive leadership, an ability to embrace folks in the community and to be included and inclusion and to hear from others and to converse and to talk. We were the leaders of the first charrette in the Virgin Islands that drove the revitalization and redevelopment of the town of Frederickson. So our ability to bring folks to the table and hear their point of view is important. What we are saying is that we are prepared, once we have collected opinions and suggestions, to move forward and to work to bring and raise the quality of life of the people of the Virgin Islands. We want you to know that we care about this territory and we care about you. We feel your pain. We understand your struggles in the business community, and we understand the plight that many families are going through. We are number 3 on the ballot. Ken Mapp for governor, Osbert Potter for governor. We ask for your vote, your support, and your prayers. Thank you.
And so Osbert Potter will be lieutenant governor.
Yes. What did I say? As governor?
Yes.
You're getting 2 for 1.
I just want the 2 for 1, right?
Yes, 2 for 1. I give it
Well,
to
and that's a good thing, because
You show that they're equal.
I mean, because
That's
really,
equal, but the
there's
fact
no
that
question.
if
I don't make
anything
that
would
as a
happen, you're
joke.
prepared to step in.
If you,
And we have,
Talk about
spoken at length about how we are going to be able to govern this territory together. Not, come January 5th, the governor goes to his corner, lieutenant governor goes to his corner, and they never, collaborate, they never sit down, they never discuss, they never share ideas. That type of governance just leads
It
to
doesn't work.
the territory getting a short end of whatever.
Needs to
is happening.
8% cut.
Well, at least the
No
territory
property
being what it
tax
is the
being
last 8 years we've been
collected.
here.
We want to thank you
Yes.
for inviting us here. We did have a wonderful spirited discussion and we enjoyed it. I must say, and the audience would see that the conversation before we got here was quite heated. And the next time I come to VI Voices, I will bring a cooler to put under my bench because the heat that this panel generates
Well, we try
could
to
start the next fire
And,
bomb.
and we hope
Wow.
that when you do come with your cooler, we can be saying Governor Mapp and Lieutenant Governor Papa.
And we ask the audience for their support and prayers to make that happen. Thank you so much.
But what we try to do is to start the fire, light the fire on other people so that they can go out there and educate themselves on the issues. That's how you vote for proper people, when you educate yourself on the issues. And like earlier today, I had the arguments before the court today, and I wanted to leave this message that the arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. And that is what we always have to remember. The fact that it's been this way for so long doesn't mean we can't correct it at some point. And so we'll see where it goes from there. But what we want to make sure everyone does is that they inform and educate themselves on all of the issues. We won't tell you who to vote for, but what we will tell you is that you need to educate yourself on the issues so that you can make clear decisions that will help and benefit the people of the Virgin Islands. Let it not be solely about you and how it affects you, but let it be how it affects the people of the Virgin Islands. And you go out there and you educate yourself and you question the people who are asking for your vote. And those individuals who don't want to answer your questions are people who should not get your vote. You want to make sure, again, that you go down to the bottom of that form, whatever the form is going to look like, and you look at the Board of Elections. That's an extremely important role. It's not enough to just vote for the delegate or the governor, lieutenant governor, or the senators. But we got to make sure that we also vote for those other offices, specifically the Board of Elections, where they are in control on the transparency and the fairness and the equity of our elections. And so I'm urging you to make sure you do that. Ask questions of those individuals. If you've had concerns about how the election system has been running, then you have a right to ask them who are there currently. If they don't want to answer you, then you may want to think twice about how your vote is going to go at that point. So remember that your voices must be heard and they're extremely important. Good night, everybody.